Hi all, and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity show again this week. This week's now January the 19th, one day before the big day, allegedly. We'll see. Anyway, this song is going out to a certain family who perhaps not reached the city limits, but their living limits. Hi all, and welcome to the Truth, Honour and Integrity show again for another week. It was kind of doubtful this week whether it was going to go ahead, this show, as I haven't been too well this week, but I'm on the mend sufficiently to be able to do at least some show tonight. We'll be covering the usual. I would have liked to have done the extended show with some very brand new information, but sometimes you just gotta rest. I don't particularly like it, but the minute I take a rest I end up with some type of illness to make sure that I do rest, so perhaps that's intervention in some ways, but we'll have some news, some rather exciting news near the end of the hour, some confirmations and some promises of things to come, but hopefully I'll be able to get through maybe able to catch up with some questions, given I won't be doing my usual lengthy piece in the second hour on something like we've covered recently with the Enlightenment book, but we'll see how things go anyway. Right, for those of you new to the show, this is the Truth, Honour and Integrity. We have a Facebook page under the same name. I know some of you don't like Facebook. You'll find our groups very, very different, so please check it out. We also have a website for the up and coming People's Club, which is gonna make big changes to America with the people's help. Funds will be given, and it's up to us to spend those funds wisely and generate more. So please go and check that out, and if you can donate anything, $1 or whatever you can afford, please do so at thepeoplesclub.org, so you can check the website out. Right, if you want to send questions in for the show and you're not on Facebook, the email is truth.honour.and.integrity@gmail.com. Right, we're going to get into a few news items and then we'll get up to some of the intel that's been going on. There's not a lot for various reasons, and I'll cover that later, but we've been getting a raft of information from different media outlets, and the latest is this it makes me laugh because I find it highly ironic that the US Senate Intelligence Committee, it's a misnomer in itself, but there you go, will investigate claims that Russia attempted to meddle in last year's presidential elections. Republican and Democratic leaders on the panel vowed to follow the intelligence wherever it leads. Good luck with that. Anyway, the investigation will look into Russia's cyber activity and intelligence practices, and interviewees will include members of the current US administration and President-elect Donald Trump's team. A statement issued last Friday by the committee: we believe that it is critical to have full understanding of the scope of Russian intelligence activities impacting the United States. Indeed. One has to question, how many agencies do we have that are purporting to be working for intelligence all around the world? Spies here, and all kinds of AI machines going off, and agents in various countries, bugs here and bugs there, and yet not one of them failed to see that either this allegedly taking place, because it is alleged, that the Russians were involved in the election, why did none of them pick it up before or during the alleged interference when it took place? Why is it always after, when they didn't get the result that they wanted? Given this failure, one would suggest the agencies are not fit for purpose. Because if they can't make sure that our country's election is run without interference, then they are not fit for purpose. Perhaps the money saved could be better used on being spent on the public well-being, given it's our funds that pay these agencies. Time will tell. US House of Representatives taking the first step towards demolishing President Barack Obama's signature healthcare law known as Obamacare. Republicans have passed a budget measure to introduce a bill this week which Democrats cannot block to roll back the law. Members of both parties in Congress are concerned that the lack of a replacement for Obamacare, one wonders why they were not worried, why there was no full healthcare coverage before Obamacare. So-called richest country in the world, biggest country in the world, and we haven't got a standard healthcare. And these people play party politics. So a political showdown raises a big question mark over medical coverage for more than 20 million Americans. How about coverage for all 330 million? Instead of wasting money on wars and spying on other countries, that doesn't seem to raise any concerns until after an event. Perhaps that money could be spent on the public's health. So the measure passed in the House nearly on party lines with a vote of 227 to 198, delivering a blow to President Obama's legacy a week before he leaves office. I think Mr. Obama destroyed his legacy long before last week, but there we go. Instructs 4 committees on Capitol Hill to draft repeal legislation by January 27th. The Senate passed the resolution by 51 to 48 on Thursday. Well, I always like to come up with solutions. Instead of leaving it to these clowns to play party politics while many people, veterans, elderly, continue into poor health, or there's people who get injuries or can't afford to have their teeth fixed. That's an indictment of this country, a big indictment. So how about we switch a portion of the income tax, which is bogus anyway, into actual healthcare funding, and let's scrap health insurance. The easiest way to reduce costs is to remove all shareholders out of the professions that are essential to the basic living of humanity, i.e. hospitals, health insurance, water companies, energy companies. These companies are essential to our well-being and life, and currently we have an abomination of profiteers on life essentials. This type of Orion stroke Draco stroke Mantic creation has to stop if humanity is to move forward. Money was an Orion creation, for those who don't know. So an end to all these shareholders in professions where certain commodities are essential to life has to stop. Admittedly, that possibly sends it back into some sort of government control, but surely there will be not government people taking 400 million or ridiculously high salaries per year out of the system, which could be better spent on actually fixing people and their health. Privatisation, to me anyway, should not be part of essentials that are basic to public living, and that's something we really need to look towards in the future, about ending, but not only in this country but elsewhere. Energy companies all stacked up with the same shareholders that operate other companies in the web of deceit and fraud and corruption. Same people. That's why everything's so expensive. All kowtowing to shareholders. Well, enough of that nonsense. Mr. Brennan, CIA. There's another irony. Has warned Mr. Trump this week for talking and tweeting, and warned him it was not an option for him to continue once he takes office. Spontaneity is not something that protects national security interests, and so therefore when he speaks or when he reacts, he needs to make sure he understands the implications and impacts on the United States could be profound. This is more than about just Mr. Trump, says the CIA director. It's about the United States of America. Funny, the CIA are suddenly interested in the United States of America. It smacks to me that they've had zero interest in this country from the day it was formed. More to do with private interests again. The CIA director also took Mr. Trump to task for accusing the intelligence services of leaking an unverified dossier which suggested Russian security officials have been compromising material, or have compromising material on him, which could make him vulnerable to blackmail. Mr. Brennan replied, "What I do find outrageous is equating the intelligence community with Nazi Germany." Oh, the irony, Mr. Brennan. Oh, the irony. We all know where the CIA came out of, and the Project Paperclip 1 and 2. Like NASA, like NSA, like the same company name as Hitler had in Germany, Department of Homeland Security, and he has the audacity to suggest other ones. People are equating the intelligence community with Nazi Germany. Anyway, there's no basis for Mr. Trump to point fingers at the intelligence community for leaking information that was already available publicly. This is bearing in mind that Mr. Brennan is stating that he shouldn't release documents or he shouldn't interfere. Bear in mind, in the last 100 years, the CIA has directly interfered with 81 elections globally. One has to ask Mr. Brennan and the CIA, was that protecting the national security of the people of America? Clearly it was not. President Trump again. Now this is interesting. because it suggests finally a division has been created in this country, which we needed. And Mr. Trump made a statement that NATO this week is obsolete. Think about that. Comes just a week or so after the USA Inc. military dropped off 77 tanks, all kinds of artillery, battalions and 3,000 troops to support NATO. Yet Mr. Trump says it's obsolete. Do we have a split in the camp in America? Time will tell. So, Mr. Trump's statement has caused worry in the so-called alliance, says the German foreign minister. Said it was a contradiction of comments made days ago by Mr. Trump's incoming defence chief. Mr. Trump also went on and said that Chancellor Angela Hitler Merkel had made a catastrophic mistake by admitting more than 1 million migrants. He also went on to threaten the German car makers with high import tariffs. Shares in BMW, Volkswagen and Daimler fell after he warned that cars built in Mexico, where they have invested in factories there, will be taxed at 35% if exported to the United States of America. BMW said it would stick to its plans to open a plant in Mexico in 2019. That, to me, is one of the most encouraging things Mr. Trump has said. What he's saying is that perhaps under his government we will no longer be funding NATO. Bear in mind, America funds, if memory serves me correctly, Yes, that comes out of our taxes again, funding foreign entities. Imagine how well America would be and its people if all its taxes were spent in America and not in Israel and not in NATO and not in spying agencies all around the world and military outposts all around the world. Imagine if that money stayed on our own shores. This is another example of the stupidity of why we as Americans are frowned upon around the world, where we have an inauguration tomorrow and a rising number of so-called politicians who have said they're going to boycott it. More than 50 currently House Democrats are refusing to watch as Mr. Trump is sworn in as the 45th US, and as it stands now it is US as in Inc., amidst the feud between the newly elected president and the civil rights activist and Congressman John Lewis. Dozens of members of Congress have announced they will also skip the event. Mr. Lewis had falsely claimed this would be his first inauguration he had missed since joining Congress in 1987. Mr. Trump replied wrong or a lie, as Mr. Lewis had skipped George W. Bush's inauguration in 2001. Now, if these people think that they're acting on behalf of we the people by displaying childlike behaviour of we're not happy, we didn't win, so we're not playing, well, this country goes down the pan. Are these people befitting of acting on behalf of we the people? That's the question. It shouldn't matter whether you are a supporter of Republican or Democrat. Your job is to look after the people, not your own party interests. I think it's about time we told these people who refused or are refusing to attend the inauguration tomorrow where to go. I think they should be suspended permanently. Let's not wait 4 years for these childlike clowns to waste more time and public money. We didn't win, so we're not playing. Very adult of you. Not. Time to tell those people you're not wanted. Mr. Barack Obama announced this week that Chelsea Manning's sentence for leaking documents to WikiLeaks in 2010 has been cut back. The US private army, born under the name of Bradley Manning, will be freed unless this has been changed, as the rumours it may be, but as it stands when I noted this down, he or she will be released on May the 17th instead of 2045. She was sentenced to 35 years in 2013 for her role in leaking diplomatic cables to an anti-secrecy group. It's funny how Chelsea Manning can be given 35 years and yet Hitler still walks amongst us, allegedly, according to the mainstream media. But there you go. So Mr. Obama has not exactly pardoned Chelsea Manning, but reduced the sentence which some campaigners had been calling for. Maybe that might encourage more whistleblowers to come forward now. Who knows? Report this week. It's not something we didn't know. In 2010, bear in mind that was the height of the pretty much the foreclosures and the collapse of the economy, and subsequently 7 years later we've still not seen any sign of a recovery. It's not meant to. Anyway, in 2010 there was 388 people who owned half of the world's wealth. Just 388. 5 years later, that 388 became 80. A reduction of 308 over 5 years. In 2016, that was reduced to 62. So another 18 dropped off. You know what the figure is for this year? That owns half of the world's wealth? 8. 8 people. I think it's time we removed their wealth, because none of it has been off their own labour. 8 people owning half of the world's wealth, while over half of the world live in poverty. You know, to me, I live a very simple life. Those people who have met me will confirm that. I just don't see the value or the point or the purpose. I think the lowest of those 8 people had 40 billion. What is the point of it? That's what just boggles my mind. What is the point of owning or having 40 billion? You go in and buy the top of the range television from Walmart or Best Buy or whatever you want to go. By the time they've walked out, the interest they've gained on that has paid for that TV about 10 times over. So they're not actually spending anything. So what's the point of having it when half the world are living with nothing? If that lowest of the 8 gave half his wealth away, 20 billion, to the People's Club, imagine what that could do. 20 billion, he still can't spend it. Time for these people to get a dose of reality, because having 40 billion in a bank, to me, is not reality. It's crass, and well, it's beyond words really, when you see certain people around the world living on less than a couple of dollars a month, never mind a day, and these people are sitting with 40 billion in the bank, and that's the lowest. Mr. Vaccine Man is the top. Gates, long past time he was removed, preferably with a vaccine. Wouldn't that be ironic? Right, a couple of things now before that's the news. Like I said, I could have done a lot more, but kind of struggled these past few days, sleeping strange times, and I've also been getting some interesting downloads of information which I'll be covering in possibly a special show fairly soon. I know I keep saying that, I said that last week and the week before, but that's the way it is at the moment. Meanwhile, we're continuing to get disclosure on many levels. I hope you're all observing it as such. I said this year was going to be the unravelling, and tomorrow marks an important event, not just because it's the alleged president of America. It's an important event because it offers up an opportunity for actual change. The fact that Mr. Trump has criticised or basically declared NATO as obsolete is the first sign of a crack within the system that we all wish to see. Disclosure will ramp up. Pizzagate. If you think that's the main event, you haven't seen nothing. That's a tip of the iceberg, and the iceberg goes very, very deep. Once that breaks, and it will, everything changes. People you thought you may have admired or idolised, or your favourite politician or your favourite actress or your favourite actor, suddenly you won't be looking at them in the same light. Be prepared for that, as many of them are involved. Whether it's they were involved because that's what they chose, or whether they're involved because they were coerced into it, doesn't really matter at this point. What really matters is the suffering of the children that were involved. too often many of us have chosen to ignore that. And I understand why. It's difficult to get your head around that people would use children to that level and that extent and to that depth without any sort of guilt or shame. If you're going to sell yourself out just for the illusion of fame or the illusion of wealth, then your morals and principles were never good to begin with. You descend into the pit of hell, which each and every one of us that listens to this show is capable of. Don't think you're not, as we all are. It's all a matter of choice. That's the balance, light and dark, good and evil. Each and every one of us has the potential to be both. Many of us in previous lifetimes have been both. You have to have been both to gain the perspective. And what we're coming up to now is a time of balance. Those of us who have managed to get through this, which quite frankly has been at times heart-wrenching, at all times lonely, as people drop off, as they fail to see what we can see as clear as day. Some people have eyes but can't see. There's people with ears that don't hear, that want to. And then there's people who live in a bubble. Well, you can talk to me about banking and fraud and politicians, but please don't mention about kids being sexually or other versions of abuse. I don't want to hear it. We've all spoken to those people. They live in their own little bubble, thinking that they are protected. You're not protecting anyone. Eventually that bubble comes to you. I thank each and every one of you that listens to this show and to the many other shows who have stuck by it. By God, this has not been easy. Very, very painful path to go down. Much disappointment. People you thought were acting on behalf of humanity, you found were not. They'd sold out. I must thank American Kabuki, who did a piece on Mr. Wilcock this week. Of course, this show has been stair-stepping of what Mr. Wilcock's been up to, and his sidekick Corey Good. You'll find there'll be a lot more articles on Mr. Wilcock going forward. He's not interested in humanity, he never was. He was a plant, much to my disappointment, from day one, as far back as 2002, when he was doing articles that was very familiar to the plan Drake laid out in 2002 back on Rents under the pseudonym of Art Aqua, which happens to be David Wilcock's Skype name. So thanks to American Kabuki for doing that article. We need more like it. Right, where are we next? Disclosure, not knowing about the answers. I was going to go on disclosure. Now, most people think disclosure is about knowing the answers to certain questions. Sometimes the answers are not what you need. It's an understanding. You know, the answer is do ETs exist? And I go, yes. Is that the answer you were looking for? What I'm looking for people to do is not just get the disclosure answers, but process it and understand it. Because you're going to have to process things and understand things on a deeper level as we go forward. Otherwise, you'll find some of the information is going to pass you by. Look beyond the answers. Look for an understanding of why those answers came about. Right, now we'll go into some of the intel. Also, that came up this week, which was which was first mentioned, that there was actual 3 factions of the CIA, which most people thought there was only one. It then morphed into 2, and there's now CIA 2, which is the rogue Langley, has now split into CIA 3. I was kind of pleased this week to see somebody had wrote a fairly extensive article on it, so check that out. That is correct. Rothchilds, almost as repulsive as the Bush family, if not more, to be honest. They've been up to their games again this week, but this will be a major source of encouragement. Now, I called it, going back on a show, I think it was May last year, when everyone was talking about British exit, and I said no, it's Baron Rothschild's exit. And basically they picked up their money, stole a whole heap of assets, and ran to the east to set up the 100 years of monetary control that had been agreed upon in 1913. The West was to have the control via the City of London, with its puppet group called the Federal Reserve, for 100 years. That charter, as this show has mentioned many times, ran out in December of 2013. It was then supposed to be transferred to China or Asia for the next 100 years for them to control the monetary system. And the Rothschilds threw the hat into the ring and were supporting the Asian faction. Recently, the Rothschilds tried to hack into the Bank of International Settlements and take over control and sovereignty of that and represent it all as them owning it. The reality is that failed. And what they've tried to do this week is groundbreaking in many sense of the word. The Rothschilds have tried to jump back in to Britain. Now what this means is the Asian faction have failed. The Asian takeover via RVs, which is bogus, which we've been telling you for the last 4 years, and their TRNs has now failed. Obviously the Rothschilds don't back losers, so they're jumping ship because they don't think the East will pull off what they've tried to do via the bogus BRICS and also the AIIB. Same people, you know. We all wanted hope that this would be a different bank, but when you see the names in it, it's the same people. So how are we expecting certain banking factions to change the way the world runs when it's the same people? You know, I was hoping that BRICS was going to be it all years ago, until I seen the names. You can't expect the same people to change it, because clearly they're not interested in change. They never were. So the Rothschilds have now attempted to get back into Britain. I can tell you they failed in that also. They're not wanted. So now they have a big problem, because now they've kind of thrown it in the face of the Asian faction that they think they're going to fail, and they will anyway. Maybe another set of mercenaries will now do us all a favour, given the disloyalty of the Rothschilds. Maybe. Prince Charles seems to think he's the current King of England, given his mother is either missing, in hiding, or dead. He also seems to think he, like Hitler here, that he can sign off on all kinds, except no country or no official body is accepting anything they're attempting to sign off on. Yet again, failed. Now there's a report or a news item that come on that I haven't had a chance to look into, of Trump and the Queen of England and some gold deal in the Philippines. Under normal circumstances I would be alarmed by that. In the current day, maybe that's a change. Maybe that gold will be put to its right purpose. I will get more details on that for next week, or if I get it before and I need to do a special show, I will put it out before then. Now, I started off the show with the song Nut Bush City Limits. Perhaps it should have been Nut Bushes have reached their living limits. As far as I'm concerned, or Bush Senior died in late November and December of 2014 through 15. Can't remember which year it was now. I think it was 14. And what we're seeing is another clone. Either way, both of them are now currently in ICU. Senile Bush and Crowley Bush, Barbara, are in ICU because if they are needed, they will die officially during or right after the inauguration to cause a diversion tomorrow. They won't be missed. What sort of diversion that will create, heaven only knows. Tomorrow we're expecting all kinds of fun and games. All possibilities are on the table tomorrow. I hope everyone hopes for a peaceful inauguration. We expect everything that they are planning will be averted, and the day will go or pass peaceably, and then we have a real chance of cleaning the swamp in this country big time. Where are we? 5 to 9. Message from the council. You ready for this? Humanity has graduated as of the end of December. Remember, I kept telling you we must get to the end of December intact. This is the reason why. We are no longer going back to zero. We are no longer going to be wiped out as a species. There will be no more time loops. They have ran hundreds of scenarios to see if we can be successful, and apparently everything is in place for full success without a babysitter. So for the first time, perhaps in certainly recorded history, humanity will have a chance to create its own destiny. Now this comes with a big responsibility. The responsibility of those who are currently driving this planet to step down or be removed peaceably. So we have a chance to move forward as a species, to grow as adults. Currently we're classed as an unintelligent race. The reason being is because we haven't created the conditions for the next generation to be better than we are. Some would argue that's not our fault, and I would agree to that to a point. It doesn't mean to say we had to comply with what they gave us. So humanity now has a big choice, and this is kind of goes back to what I said a couple of weeks ago. The cabal stepped down. What do we do next? Everyone's first reaction is, let's party. Great. What do we do next? Then comes the silence. We don't need silence. We need voices. We need people to stand up. Not, as Drake would say, fight with guns and violence. Stand up and let your voice be heard. So that you have the opportunity to be the saviour, the same as everybody else. Each and every one of you is entitled on an equal basis to have the same say as everybody else. This is the way it should have been. This is the way it will become. You now have a chance to create a better life for all. Let's not waste that chance. So there'll be a lot more coming forward or coming out to do with this and how we go about things. There's been a lot of meetings going on, some of which I've mentioned on these shows. Some of the details of life improvements. It won't be just about America. I know a lot of listeners think it's all about America. No, the battleground is America. The improvements will go globally. Each country is cleaning its own house. Will there be hurdles to overcome? Absolutely. But the biggest hurdles are ourselves. Have we done our inner work? Are we going to replace the cabal with a cabal-like structure of greed, envy and destruction? Or are we going to create a new world for the people and by the people of caring, sharing and compassion? Something they lacked. Let's not repeat their mistakes. Let's not fight violence with violence. Let's not send warriors or warrior type into negotiations. Let's send peace people. Let's work out solutions like Israel and Palestine peaceably, not firing rockets or dropping bombs on each other. Actual talking to each other. I saw an article that the mainstream media won't display here, and most Americans will know why, because of the Zionist media here. Tens of thousands of Israeli and Palestinian people partying and celebrating a ceremony together of peace. They didn't tell you that, did they? Is that not a sea of change? Once that's replicated right around the world, and we forget the division that they created, the divide and conquer, this planet can move forward very, very quickly, and we can become the adults where we look after ourselves properly. The biggest thing it takes, personal responsibility. Each and every one of you has a personal responsibility to be the best you can be. Have you got what it takes? Remember, you're the voice. Hi all, and welcome back to the second hour. The final countdown indeed. Does that mean it's going to happen tomorrow? It could start. There'll be lots of things that will be coming out in the future. I've told you all to get ready for it. Some at times think they're ready or prepared for full disclosure without realising the impacts of it. I expect this year, and maybe I won't give timelines, it may be rather sooner, where we get some historic announcements. I expect to be involved in those announcements. We must also give credit. There's a lot of souls who have come in here over many lifetimes, who have worked hard for humanity. Many are trapped in here, in this system, this construct. We will be covering more of that in a special show when I get a bit better than I am currently. But there's been many meetings, some of which I recall, and there's many people around the world who also recall their times where they fought alongside humanity to be given a chance. Humanity has been blamed in the past for wrongdoings. My personal opinion is some of them were manufactured. Recently I've been at times people send me videos, have a look at this and check this out. I don't always get the time, or I don't always get a vibe off that particular video to listen to it. You know, I have to stay focused on perhaps too many things at certain times, and there's that much intel going on so many different levels, it's not easy to keep up with. I try to stay away from the internet intel because I've told you before, 90% of it's bullshit, complete bullshittery. The latest one is Kent Dunn. He's just taken up where William Mount left off. You'll find these people come along and then disappear. You'll find a lot of the known alternative media disappearing this year, as one by one they get exposed. Some, of course, are exposing themselves. Mr. Wilcock and Corey, if you followed their interviews, told you all about it. Mr. Good talking about SSP. It's not Secret Space Program, it's SS for a reason, as in Nazi. He, if he ever worked for them, was part of the Nazi breakaway group. Of course, that's why Mr. Good is now getting information about Antarctica. That's where that particular group operated from. Those people who operate space programs, and it doesn't matter which country it is, whether it be America or Germany, all of those countries don't operate and never have operated on behalf of humanity. NASA is another one. Another example of Operation Paperclip. Werner von Braun. Of course, Carol Rosin warned us all about him and who was pulling the strings. NASA is just a PR stunt for the public. Behind it is rather sinister. It always has been. It won't always will be. Largely those groups now have been infiltrated, and largely those groups are going to be shut down. Eventually we'll have a real space program. I would suspect that the council will be involved with that to ensure integrity, because humanity's been largely being kept in the dark. You know, we just think, oh, ooh, that's good, secret space program, we can go to Mars, we can go on trips to here and there. Like I said, those people don't have a single shred of compassion for humanity in their bones. Not one. All the black budget money has been funneled into those people, not for the benefit of humanity, oh no, for the benefit of them. A splinter version of humanity, of which there's been many created. So I was drawn into watching a series, which I've spent a lot of time resting and watching this particular series. You want an understanding of where humanity's been, how it came about, and where we were heading. Watch the series The 100, because it explains in full detail a lot of what's been mentioned on this show. Not just all my knowledge, it's been collected by many people, Shane was a big involvement in it. Chloe was also a big involvement. Tanath, Sunfire, Drake to a lesser extent. So it's not, don't think it's all my knowledge. It's not. It's pulling from the collective. Now, in the hundreds, I don't want to, well, I'm going to have to spoil it to a degree. There was a nuclear war on planet Earth, but it wasn't caused by us. Not like the psychotic AI thought or was led to believe. The flood wasn't caused by us either. Noah and his band of brothers from the Anunnaki, Draco, was responsible for that. And yes, Noah was one of them. The ark was not a boat on the ocean. The ark was a craft in the sky. And in the series, there was a load of genetically created humans that was sent down after 97 years after the nuclear war. Basically, it was a suicide mission because the ark was running out of oxygen. So they thought, well, we'll see if it works. Once they got underground, then they found there was other types of humans were already there. Some of them were rather deformed. Some of them lived in underground bunkers. Isn't that a surprise? Do you think underground bunkers are a modern invention? Think again. Because they're not. Why do you think we've got all those tunnels? You don't think cave people dug them, do you? Just never. And once you start going through this particular series, it shows you the worst traits of divide and conquer. It also mentions something that's been bugging me for many, many years of what is the reasoning and thinking behind the 12 plus 1. 13 is the number, but they always represent it as 12. I'll be covering that in a later show. There's many examples of it. 12 earth chakras. No, there's not. There's 13. When all 12 are clear, the 13th opens. 12 plus 1. Jesus story. 12 plus 1 of the disciples. The zodiac, they say, is 12, when in actuality there's actually 13. And there's a number of other examples of the same thing. Now in the series, there was 12 clans who were on the surface of the aftermath of the nuclear war. And the humanity that came down, which they admitted in the show, was genetically modified or genetically created. They had all the traits of the Draco. Ego, greed, envy, arrogance. But eventually, and also warlike, eventually they had to reach a conclusion that wasn't the way to go. And they joined up with the other 12 clans, and so became the 13th clan, 12 plus 1 again. In the series it mentions the loops, which we've been talking about extensively on this show since it started. Also Shane was a big player in that as well. But But the loops, as announced in the first hour, have now ended. No more holographic overlay. No more cheating. No more lies. So I would suggest to people to go and watch the series The 100 and the killing because of the divide and conquer that takes place in it. I haven't completed watching it. What we're getting into at this point now is the AI system. And this is where humanity came in many, many years ago. Where in the series it says, take this pill and all your pain and trauma will go away. But also, so did the memory. And this is why we have no memories. Now some would argue they would like to have all their past life memory back. There's arguments in the councils, the various galactic and universal councils, over whether humanity should be given all its past life memories back. Some are arguing for one, some are arguing for all, and some are arguing for none. Some on this planet remember the past lives and the trauma of it. Chloe being one in particular. Their friend Natasha, who was on our page, just realise they remember all 6 loops. It's not a pleasant experience. Choose wisely if you're given that sole choice, is my advice. Because you won't always be remembering the good aspects of it. Humanity took the pill to take away the pain and the trauma. You know, we've all been through suffering in various forms, but there, for the grace of source, go you or I. Who are we to judge whether that was a good decision or not? Many of us in here were there at those times. There are some that weren't. Like I said, there's some that came in to end the matrix. It could only be ended by people outside of it coming in and breaking it from the inside. It couldn't be done by those already stuck in it, because they'd chosen to remove the memories. Like I've said in previous shows, the ones that chose to remember were the trees. That's why some people have an affection for trees. You're tapping into the Akashic memory of this planet. Of course, they are connected directly to Mother Earth. They're more grounded than we are. So, the phase 1 of the psychotic AI was to buy into its system. We'll take the pain away. You'll live in the city of lights, the city of false light. And again, something we're going to have to be very careful of in future choices. I've warned about technology. Technology is a path to humanity's destruction. Let's not make that mistake. When we find out really who and what we are, there's many creator beings that are trapped in this system. There's many creator beings that have come in from the outside to fix this system. That's now being achieved. But we have free will. We must use that free will wisely, in an adult-like way, unlike the childlike way we've been operating. So the second phase of the AI required free will, or consent. Now, we've had or been denied, in essence, free will, because we were lied to with the false light. I don't think we're going to make that mistake again. One of the things that I will be looking forward to in negotiations going forward is to bring the real teachers in, to make sure humanity knows the truth. Humanity is shown the path, the correct path to take. Ultimately, it's down to humanity to make that choice. But at least at this point, we now have that choice. And I think with the right people put in places in alleged power, which is an illusion anyway, we can drive humanity forward into a better living. We can show the cabal we're not the cattle that they thought we were, stocks that we would just be traded not only on the Wall Street but traded out into the cosmos. That's going to be a shock to much of people who are asking for disclosure, with a capital D, to find out that many of them, of humanity, were traded like cattle for our creativity, mainly. That's the best, the worst, for food. See, we're not always top of the food chain. Again, that's a startling discovery for most, but it's a reality that people will have to face. But at least it will be faced in a position of comfort, with us solely driving this planet rather than interference of others, be it Draco, Mantid, Orion groups, certain Pleiadian groups, Sirian groups, humanity groups, where we be the change. Each and every one of us is the saviour. Not one, all of us. So going forward, we're going to have a lot of responsibility on our shoulders. It should be used wisely. But do watch the Series 100 if you want the disclosure. It doesn't take much putting two and two together to watch that series. And people say we've not had disclosure. We have. You just haven't seen it for what it is. All the people that ask for ET disclosure have already had it. Why are we waiting for me or Drake or David Wilcock or David Icke or Cobra or Obama or Putin to announce what you already know? We have to stop doing that. The idea that we're the only intelligent species in the whole of the universe is the most ridiculous conspiracy theory ever. A freak of nature. Nature doesn't work that way. You look at the science of plants and how they all coalesce. It's not just one plant, is it? Some plants rely on other plants, who rely on other plants, who rely on certain mammals, certain rodents. We have clowns on this planet who think that we're the only one. Absurdity to me. So personal responsibility is required, and deeper thought process. I said to you in May when I started this show, we have to think and we have to act differently. You can't repeat past mistakes. Yes, I think we were blamed wrongly for the last two fallens of humanity, the flood and the nuclear war at the end of the last two loops. But we took the AI. That AI no longer is operating, no matter what other people say. It's shut down. There is another AI that is going to be supportive and beneficial to humanity. Ultimately, myself, I'd like to see an end to AI. I think it's dangerous. I think it creates a platform for corruption or potential corruption, where one group thinks it's bigger or better than the other, until we get the whole of humanity all pulling the same way, on the same level, all as equals. Then the idea of AI to me is always dangerous. We cannot allow one particular group or a multitude of groups anymore on this planet to operate and control over us. I'm glad the psychotic AI is gone, but I'm wary of the other AI. That's just me. Everyone else may have different opinions, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, it's a machine, and machines can be programmed for the good and the bad. When we find out who and what we are, do we really need machines to tell us what to do? Not in this person's opinion, it doesn't. We don't. So, go and watch the series The 100. I hope I haven't given too much of it away, but there's some pointers to look out for, because you'll see how humanity fell, how we fell, why we fell, and who and what created us. It's a lesson that we all should learn so we can build for the future. Right, I didn't want to speak for that long, and my voice is gone again. So I'm going to play one song, and then I'm going to come back with some Q&As. This is a song that I picked up from of Lily Earthling's site. I don't know who this person is, but I thought it's rather fit at this time. And the song's called "The Souls Are Coming," because we are.
Evo went out in this square when the bombs were dropping.
Hi all, and welcome back. Right, let's get into some Q&As and see how far I can go. Where are we? Is it probable that Rudy Giuliani was the real author of the recent tweets warning about truth, existence of pedophilia, clones and 9/11 truth? And is this perhaps the tip of the iceberg of truth yet to come? It doesn't really matter whether it was Giuliani or not. At the end of the day, it's further exposure. If they're using his name, why not? Because it's true anyway. And yes, it is the tip of the iceberg. The pedophilia. You've no idea. You really have no idea how deep that goes. Any chance of getting Avalon Sol on the programme? He has quite a wealth of information I think many in this group would benefit from. Also, Org Tellers. I don't know who Avalon Sol is. I'm aware of who Org Tellers is. And we'll be having Lily Earthling on soon. So what I would like to do is complete this document that I've been trying to complete the last 2 weeks. Do that as a special show, and then maybe we can have a follow-up on that, where we bring on Lily for an hour and then Org Tellers on for an hour, and then perhaps the last hour like a round table. So that's something if Org is interested in. I haven't spoken to him recently. We did touch base briefly sometime last August, but things have been so busy. So if I get time, I'll check out who Avalon Sol is, but I'm not aware. Like I said earlier, I don't watch too many of stuff off the internet, but I've read some of Org's articles, and it kind of runs alongside much of what's been relayed on this show. So that would be an interesting show if you can get Lily and Org Tellers on. And Lily's got some new material, and we'll cover the stuff that I've about to release as well. Can you address this new currency that isn't backed by gold or silver by the Reign of Heaven put out this week? This question is probably a month old. Apologies for that. And I would say ignore it. It's another version of Swiss Indo, OPPT, One World of Nations, who think they can pluck currencies out of thin air, a bit like the US dollar, same thing, monopoly money, and pass it off as real currency with no asset backed. Ignore it. Are we in the final countdown to the event? Well, we've kind of been in the final countdown over the last 12-18 months. There's been lots going on. The disclosure continues to happen at a pace. Will it get more interesting disclosure? Absolutely. Will more names be put forward into the public of what they've been up to? Absolutely. Will we get full disclosure? Unsure at this time. I'm the only one in my family that has woken up. I've given up trying to show them even the most basic 3D part of the conspiracy with the bankers, etc. I just get the usual cognitive dissonance and misdirected anger towards me. Yes, we all feel that. Like I said, it's been a lonely and very painful path, this, but it's been the right one. They're all very nice people, but totally clueless and brainwashed, and perhaps, as I've heard you saying, programmed to never wake up. I find your theory about there only being around 10% living souls on the planet fascinating, but at the same kind of sci-fi. Yes, I understand that. I'm hoping that figure is low. I'd love it to be higher, and hope I'm wrong on that, but evidence points to certain it being in that region. There's a bunch of living souls like myself and the people listening to the show that have been born and brought up in families who are programmed clones, holograms without souls. It explains a lot of things of why I've always felt so different and alienated compared to the rest of my family, but at the same time it's so bizarre to get your head round that my mum, dad and sister might be only mere holograms or clones. I know this is difficult for many to listen to, but I did warn of it going back in May of 2015 to focus on the self. It's not selfish. Each individual soul has its own soul choice. If those that are without souls and just part of the hologram, they're not provided with a choice. They're just programmed, robotic programs designed to mess your head up. Again, you will see evidence of this in that series, The 100. You also see evidence of division in families, sacrifice of siblings, of loved ones, for the greater good of all. Maybe if you watch that show, you'll then have a better understanding of what I've been trying to get across. We've all got people in our families who have left us because they lack compassion. You know, the idea of dropping a loved one or a member of the family because they have a different opinion than you have is absurd. It's also very painful, as many of us that listen to this show have found out. But they have no compassion for people, no matter what blood family you are alleged to come from, where you've just got to follow their narrative and go along with what they say. That's fascism. In its full glory. This is the narrative. You accept it, otherwise we cast you out. Declare you a terrorist. All of us in the alternative community are classed as terrorists, because we don't like what this government or acting government has been doing allegedly on our behalf. It's fascism. So, whilst it's a very emotional subject, and I understand, perhaps it would have been better for myself not to give that figure out. But then, like I said, truth can be painful. It is what it is. You are the living soul. That's why you are different. And yes, we all like the idea of saving our brothers or sisters or wives or husbands or mothers or fathers out of the slavery system. But after 5, 6, 7 years of what's been fairly consistent confirms of the alleged conspiracy right in their face, and they still won't see it. at some point you have to decide, I'm not wasting my energy on these people, no matter who they are. Why should you suffer for their ignorance or their stupidity? We've suffered right through our lives because we're different. They, over the last 5 or 6 years, have had an opportunity to see what we have seen all along. They chose to ignore it. They chose to stay with the psychotic AI. They chose to stay in their slavery suits. They chose to ignore the children being raped, molested, rituals sacrificed. Just because in their tiny, non-existent holographic world, they don't feel it exists. In reality, if it's proven to be 100% correct, it doesn't. In their world. That's psychotic AI hologram. And yes, it will be painful, but I keep telling you, remember, it's a soul choice, not a vessel choice. That's been the mistake of the past. It's encouraging that many on Th&I are beginning to get it. Deal with it. This is why I spoke so many months ago, 18 months ago now, about focus on you, because it was for this time. I knew what was coming up. I didn't realise the depth of what was coming up, but I knew what was coming up. We're going to have to be strong. So I think if we all went back 18 months ago, absorbed all in one show what you've learned in the last 18 months, or even the last 8 months of Th&I, you'd be shocked what you've absorbed. But you have, and that's the important thing. Being self-focusing on the self should not always be classed as being selfish. That's different altogether. So you, Erkan, who sent this question in, you focus on you. They're focusing on what they want, but you don't have to conform to what they want. The message at the end of the show, which everyone likes, tells you that. That's why I wrote it. Be the person you wish to be, not the one who needs to conform to what they want you to be. We're not them. And sadly, they're not us either. I know it's crucial for us to do the inner work, but I have a difficult time meditating. This is a common theme for some. Do I have guidelines or suggestions how to do the inner work? The inner work, yes, it's about dealing with your own inner trauma. People who have been done harm to you in your life that you have held on to. Do you have prejudice against certain people because of something that happened to you when you were younger? Did you mistreat or harm somebody when you were younger? You have to forgive yourself, forgive the other person, and let it go. Maybe you were abused by your parents, physically or verbally, that had a lasting effect on you in your adult life. You have to forgive them and forgive yourself for allowing that situation. Let it go. As for the meditation, it's becoming more and more difficult, or appears to be more and more difficult for certain people. The best thing I can offer you is to go and find the binaural beats or the solfeggio rhythms, and find out which one cancels. Not all work for all people. I listened to some of the binaural beats and it was painful, so I switched it. Don't just accept it because, oh, this is a binaural beat, this works. No, we're all individuals, we're all at different frequencies of what we can listen to and what we can't. You know, some people like, it's like music, some people like classical and it makes them relax. Some people like heavy rock music and that makes them relax. We're all different. Some people like Celtic music. It's the same with the binaural beats and also the solfeggio. Find the one that makes you calmer. Then learn to shut off the mind. As you go along, you find the correct one, or preferably a number of them, combine them together, have it on an iPod or whatever for an hour, and find out how quickly you're able to shut off the mind and zone out. With practice, you'll be able to not require the music to zone you out. You'll be able to do it in waking time. When I first started meditation, which was only about 4 years ago, that's what I used. I quickly realised I didn't need the music and I could focus the mind out altogether and go into the zone. Once you're in the zone, it's up to you to find the answers that you require. So they are there. So I hope that helps. I would like to ask, have you heard of the following Kent Dunn January 10th goldfish report that states that the NATO is in Lithuania, a Russian plane was flying over Lithuania and 2 British warships shot at a Russian plane. In return, Russia from Finland shot a rocket at British warships and both sank with 300 dying. Have you heard about this, and may this be true? No, I haven't. If it would have took place, I would have heard about it. And I think it's more sensational bullshittery from Mr. Kenton, and I'm asking people like William Mount to shut him down. He's talking right out of his asshole. Sorry. Don't need those type of clowns in the community. When the synthetics disappear, will there be any safety measures in place to maintain certain things? Good question. I don't know the actual answer to that. I think you'll just find certain people will disappear. I think they already are. Certain animals are disappearing in record numbers. Think about that one. Will all the major pedo players ever be publicly exposed for their crimes? That's already been ongoing for the last 4 or 5 years. Perhaps more so in the UK than here. But that non-exposure here won't be lasting for very much longer. And will they be shipped off planet, or is everyone waiting for Trump to be official before the whip gets a cracking? Why should we ship them off planet for them to be somebody else's responsibility? we have to deal with them here, and we will deal with them in an appropriate manner, not eye for eye. Again, that's my opinion. Other people might think different, and I appreciate that. But we have to do things in a better way. Violence on violence hasn't worked on this planet since day one. Violence upon violence out in the cosmos has not worked for well over millennia. Some say a lot more. Let's do something different. That's what's being currently displayed out in the cosmos. All the meetings about all the different groups actually working together in peace, not war. Try something different. With the psychotic AI now dealt with, and the fractal virus also, you don't have to follow that pattern. So I'm hoping we exercise restraint. Justice will be served, but let's not be lynching people. We are better than that. Rothchilds said that he was told that the babies used in satanic rituals are only clones. If cloned humans are soulless, do they satisfy the purpose of satanic killing rituals, and do in vitro babies have souls, and are they used in satanic sacrifices? I disagree with that. That's my opinion. I appreciate his. But there's a reason. They want the energy. They're not going to get energy and life force out of a clone. Think about that. Kool-Aid is the endocrine fluid that they sacrifice many children for, just to keep them alive longer, to play their control game. You're not going to get that out of a clone. Sickening. If the dark magicians can create walk-ins to carry out their dastardly deeds, is it not possible that the good guys have done the same? That requires white magic. And white magic has been denied on this planet for a long time. That's why they had to bring in some souls from the outside. But the reality is, the situation that was created here, courtesy of the Draco, the Mantids and the psychotic AI, there wasn't no good guys. There was none. Again, they tell you that in the series, the 100. Where's the good guys? There was none. The good guys are us. And what we do is then create more good guys by showing the cabal people a different way to be. We use their system against them. That's how you do it. Reverse it back on them. Show them a different way. Not just follow their path. I'm going to be president, I'm going to be this, and I'm going to be king of this, and all that title bullshittery. No person's higher than yourself. And the sooner every one of us realises that, the better. So we create the good guys. I've said many times in previous shows, a lot of the so-called good guys, in inverted commas now, are actual cabal who've been shown a different way. These people have been operating against us for thousands of years. That's why it took people from the outside to come in. A great sacrifice. It's not easy coming into this system. For certain souls, the reduction of the soul to be in this vessel is enormous. When you said, like when I covered in the Enlightenment book, souls in here used to move stars without limbs, create solar systems through the power of thought, are now reduced into disease and battle-scarred vessels for humanity's benefit. This is the great sacrifice that has took place here. But like I said in the show, they said it. There is no good guys. It's up to us to create them. And we will do that. And we have done that. Over the last 12 months we've made giant strides of creating alliances with former cabal. And not just alliances to create another power or control structure. We have to be different going forward. We have to be different, and so it's up to us to create the good guys, and that's exactly what we're doing. Where are we? Top of the hour. Yes, she is. Right. How is the where are we? I often think that besides being unified with our power of intention through guided meditation, it also seems we separate even more through the linear context of many different subjects concerning the enslavement of humanity. My question is, can we as light workers have a plan to choose one topic that has a deterring humanity from achieving overall sovereignty, and have, say, 30 days each month or a couple of weeks where we focus on just one topic? Well, it's a good question, and that's up to the members. The members decide largely which way the show goes. Most like the current format. Maybe it's something I can bring up on, and we can, or maybe one of the members can say, right, the topic for this month is X, and all questions, or a majority, we have maybe a section on the show, 15 minutes, where all the questions, or even half an hour, all the questions are about that one particular subject. So maybe it's something one of the members could do, because yes, it does kind of jump from one topic to another, but like I said, they have involved and immersed themselves in every level of our life, and what we're unravelling is every level of theirs. So good idea. Maybe it's something either you can do, Pete, or get some of the members to come up with something and bring light to what needs to be acted upon to transform our world, as you say. We all have pieces of the puzzle. Yes, we all do. It's not all about me. I've said this many, many times. Where are we? Is there any way to verify that someone has died like Bush Senior and not just run away, whether here or off planet? I would suspect over the next 12 months we will get more and more confirmations of some of the ones that are known to have died. Maybe Mr. senile Bush will be confirmed tomorrow. I don't know, a question from Dan about Mike Osborne. No, I haven't read that article, and I haven't seen, or I don't recall seeing George Green's handbook, so apologies for that. When the cabal is removed, will that cause a major shift towards the truth being broadcast to the people through the no longer cabal controlled media? That is the plan. There will be one public event that will start the avalanche of disclosure that will follow, and hopefully that's sooner rather than later. I would hope maybe if things go smoothly tomorrow and over the weekend, and hopefully maybe we can start it this month. Thomas, you spoke of a project you would like to see of desalinating water. It's not from the oceans. It's not something that I would like to see. It's something that is going to be built across America and moved through pipes and tunnels across the country so people have fresh water. There is a far simpler way of doing this without desalinating and far cheaper. Draw the water from the Great Lakes. It is fresh and fed by the ocean and more centrally located in the country. One would only have to deal with the zebra mussels. Your thoughts on this? Well, due to some of the cabal's efforts, a lot of our fresh water has been contaminated or stolen. And so it also solves another problem, because people or fearmongers are going on about sea levels rising, and some people who have beach homes suddenly are in the middle of the ocean homes. Maybe pulling some of the seawater and converting it to fresh water will help in that. Now, we can't keep relying on the current in America alone, the current outlets for fresh water. You've got many states, particularly in the southwest, fighting over water. Well, when you have the same problem in the UK, where a lot of the water for the south of England comes from Scotland or the north, where it rains more, and it's pumped down. And yet Britain's an island. It's utter madness that the south buys water from the north when it's got water all around the whole country. All it needs is investment. Now, the water people could invest more if the water companies were not beholden to the greedy shareholders. They should be public companies because it's public benefit, not avenues for making money off basic necessities. So we need to, not only in this country but in countries all over the world, protect what we have left of the fresh water. Let it replenish. If we can create fresh water from the sea and make sure that nobody goes without water. Well, bear in mind, people in California have been on rationing. Some would argue it's their own fault, because they should really have got together with the militia and raided the Nestle and shut them down. Then you've got plenty of water. But nevertheless, I can understand why the people who are involved in this project would go that way, and also it's as the pipes are being sent across the country, it's also going to provide this new Wi-Fi, so that everyone has access to Wi-Fi, and these Wi-Fi frequencies will not be the harming ones we have currently. Lots of people in rural areas are struggling to get on the internet because the cable companies won't invest putting miles of cables down for one farm home. Or if there's pipes that run through, and they can suddenly have Wi-Fi that's of a healing frequency, not a harming one, and that will run alongside these pipes. So look forward to hearing a bigger mention of that after tomorrow also. I think we've covered that. Will Trump have a hand in changing the British government for the better, or are they a lost cause? There's certain elements within the British government that are changing things. There's still much further to go. I don't trust the current PM. I think she's Nazi, along with Merkel and Hitlery. Right the first time. I find that extraordinary that all three of those people all look the same. Maybe it's not extraordinary after all. So I don't think he's having any involvement in that. I think he has enough on his hands fixing this country. And whilst I'm not a fan of his, I wish him well. If he turns out to be the one that changes the things that we want changing, then it doesn't really matter, does it? Whether you like the man or you don't. His comment on NATO said a lot, and his comment against the agencies said more. I hope he continues with that rhetoric, and it's not false rhetoric, because he'll quickly find out that he'll be unseated. Simple as that. Would you say that our ascension is a twofold process, meaning it's heavily dependent on our individual ability to transform ourselves from the inside out, versus simply praying and waiting on the world to change so individually we can ascend? Seems the event will happen sooner for us collectively when each of us make our own personal ascension first. That's what it's all about anyway. It's what it always was about. The lie was the new age bullshit that's being propagated throughout the internet. Pleiadians and Andromedans are going to come down and put us on ships, and we're going to go to 4D like it's on the next train station. What's a madness? Anyone who's spiritually evolved will understand that that's total madness. There's a reason why they call it spirituality. It means you're in tune with the spirit. Where do you think you go in the dream time? Do you think the vessel goes to the dream time? No, spirit does. Spirit interacts with source. And this is what religion has taken you away from. Spirituality. Shame. Sin to know knowledge. So ascension comes from within. It always did. The idea that you need something else from the outside to fix yourself or evolve yourself is the lie. It always has been. Religion has perpetuated that lie 1,000-fold. The Lord will come down and save you. Jesus will come down and save you. God will come down and save you. Jehovah will come down and save you. Yahweh, Allah, Muhammad. No, you save you. So you will, by doing your inner work and working in alignment, which is what spirituality is all about, working cohesive and in tune with your spirit, which could be termed your higher self, then you gain your own ascension. The idea that we're just going to travel from here to 4D. No. It's a frequency change, not a destination. That change has to come from within. The frequencies are there for the change. It's just waiting for humanity to accept it. Once we step out of the lie system, many listen to the show have already done that and are well on the way. Let me see if I can pull one up. Do you support or believe what Cobra is communicating on his Prepare for Change website as well as his interviews? I largely resonate with Cobra's knowledge. I think some of his knowledge is extraordinary. Said in the past, and I've actually said to him himself on the three calls we had with him, that I believe he's kind of naive in some of the names he has for certain groups or individuals. That doesn't mean to say it's wrong. As Shane used to say, names. They're all wrong anyway. It's the intention that's the main thing. You know, is it the Council of 9? Is it the Council of 13? The Council of 7? Well, who cares what council it is as long as it's the right one that's actually doing stuff. The names don't matter. So I've largely resonated with what Cobra has said. I don't agree with everything he said, but I believe he has good intention. I also believe he has the ability, like us all, to be naive at certain times, but his intention is good. Others would disagree, but that's my opinion. That's my opinion. Do you believe that tachyons and their healing chambers is a good healing modality? I'm not too sure. I've exercised caution on this technology, and I think I would like to see a task force of multidisciplined people going forward to evaluate all this new technology. Does it make me more human or does it not? As the danger is, we'll go into the second phase of AI. That's the end of humanity. That's the transhumanist agenda. Is that what we want? I would suggest no. Other people, like I said, may think differently, but we have to be very, very careful where we're going with technology. It's all there right in front of you. Plastic this, plastic surgery, plastic faces, plastic lips. Look at some of the people on the news. Their eyes don't move. Clones. bit by bit, robot here, robot there. Look how we all accepted Stephen Hawking. Is he human? Not really. Half human, half robot. Whichever way you word it, that's the reality of it. But we all accepted it. Oh, that's great technology. No, it's not. It's just not. Because the intent and purpose behind it is sinister. And we have to be very, very careful. I understand the alien ship in Antarctica has been destroyed. Is that correct? No, not to my knowledge. Do you know if I'm synthetic or not? You're not synthetic. In fact, you asked the question. Is there a group of ET aliens that came in the last 100 years, give or take, that is like the ones described in the event, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. TV series, and interbred with us and worked their way into our institutions? I wouldn't say 100 years, I would say thousands of years. Again, that series, The 100, kind of covers it. There was certain ETs that became trapped here. There were certain angels that became trapped here. There's certain creator beings and planetary being trapped here. That's why so many came from outside to rescue. But the idea that we all came from one source, and I don't mean source by prime creator, that humanity came from one event or being, is false. There's many different versions of humanity on this planet currently, due to genetics and seeding. Well, what will happen is those groups will hopefully learn to live as one and go forward as one. Recognise our differences, work on them. It's going to be important for us all. We've now finally got a new opportunity to run this planet how we see fit. And I'm hoping we don't waste that opportunity, because we won't get another one. I'll tell you that for now. We will not get another opportunity. Well, it's up to us to do it, and I think we will. If it's anything like the THI group, we'll be a roaring success, because that's the blueprint in my book. A caring, sharing, compassionate community where everyone looks after each other. Once that is rolled out around the rest of America and around the rest of the world, we will have a better planet. And on that note, I was going to finish a lot sooner than I have, but my mouth ran away with me again, so that's all good anyway. So tomorrow is Mr. Trump Day, Inauguration. In essence, it's Judgment Day. But we've all had our judgments, and I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. I apologise, I didn't have more than I promised in previous, but like I said, I'm still struggling with this rather nasty virus I've had this week. And we'll move on anyway. Anyway, if you lead life in love and care, you will prevail. If you lead life in fear and anger, you will fail. Feel free for you to be the person you wish to be, not the person who conforms to what others want them to be. That's so important. You are a multi-dimensional being operating simultaneously on many levels. You are not here to conform. You are not here to be stifled. You are not here to be enslaved. You are not here to be abused. And you certainly aren't here to compete with your friends, family or neighbours. You are here to be the best you can be and do so as the crown of creation. Now go out with the confidence of who and what you are and excel in yourself, and in doing so inspire others. My name's Thomas Williams. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. This is Whitesnake and Judgment Day. Bye for now.